My name is Nathan Vanette with the Cottage Farmstead, and today we are going to go over how to make a pour-over coffee. The first element and the largest component of coffee is water, which comprises of about 95 to 98% of coffee itself. So this makes it a vitally important component to take into consideration when making your coffee. There has been different discussions over using filtered water or unfiltered water from the tap. And personally, I found that unfiltered water offers some more complexity to the flavor profile versus filtered water. Part of this is because there are more molecules and different hardnesses, I guess you'd say, pertaining to the water, whether it's the salts or the magnesium, which can actually bond together with the flavor profile of the bean, enabling those oils to really mix well with the water itself. For this reason, I love using our water right out of the tap, and here in Greenville, South Carolina, it's actually spectacular water for coffee making. The next step is the temperature of the water. You don't want it to be too hot, but yet you don't want it too cold. If you end up with water that is too cold when you try to pour it over your coffee, the flavor will have a tendency to be on the flatter side. Whereas if it's too hot, it'll actually cause some of the oils to bind up in the coffee bean itself, and it won't express the full flavor of the coffee. So to get started, we will start by getting the water in the kettle on, and one of the tips that I find to get the right temperature range, it's between 190 and 195 degrees. It's right about the time when you start to hear those bubbles fizzling up from the bottom. You don't want it a full rolling boil, which is about 212 degrees, but just when you start to hear some of that motion. So we'll go ahead and get started. The next most important part to take into consideration when brewing your coffee is what type of coffee are you using. A lot of the commercial providers will have a blend of coffee. That way it has a nice even profile of a flavor. The downside is you don't get as many unique flavor profile notes. Whether it's a coffee from Africa or South America where you get like the fruities or the nutty, the earthy, the chocolatey. There's so many unique notes that you can find when you buy a single origin coffee versus a traditional blend. You just have to be more mindful of and search a little bit harder for these coffees. The one that I'll be bringing today is from our local coffee brewer, Methodical Coffee. It's called Play Nice, which has a delightful chocolate brown sugar berry flavor. One thing to be mindful of is how finely are you grinding the beans. If you grind it super fine, it can be almost like an espresso powder. But if you have it just a little coarse, almost like a coarse sugar, this is about the perfect consistency for a pour-over coffee. As it's not too fine where it will take forever to filter through and you'll get more of an espresso flavor, but yet not too large where you don't get the flavor or full flavor body. When using reusable filters like this, it's usually a good idea to get it nice and wet first. That way, when the oils are expressed from the bean, it doesn't stick to the screen itself. The next component that we have control over is a ratio of coffee to water. I like to measure the coffee and water in grams, as this provides a really easy measurement tool to make sure that you have the proper ratio. And for a single cup this size, I like to do about 17 grams of coffee to about 255 grams of water. The temperature of the water is just about perfect. You can start to see a little bit of steam rising up from the spout. So we will take this over to the pour-over coffee and make us a delicious cup of coffee. When you start to pour, you'll want to pour in a circular motion and just get enough to wet the beans that you have ground. That way, it allows some of the carbon dioxide to actually release. You'll see the coffee grounds almost bloom up together, and this creates a beautiful bloom. After about 30 seconds, it is ready to start pouring the water again. So we will pour the desired quantity of water, doing a circular pattern and a zigzag 8. That way you have even water expressing over all the beans. You don't want to pour too fast because if the water goes above the level of the beans and the filter, you'll actually get just pure water filtering through to the cup of coffee. Now that the coffee is made, the coffee grounds aren't a complete loss. This actually is an excellent addition to your compost. So we'd love to just throw it into our kitchen compost, as it adds a delightful addition of different types of bacteria and nitrogen. And your crops in the spring will love you for it. And just like that, we have a delicious cup of coffee. We hope you enjoyed the video today and that it helps you with your success of making an excellent pour-over coffee. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Wow, that's good.